I CBA, so I'm not even talking. You want my ETA, I ain't left just yet, I'm stalling. Still gonna come through, shake that back, still gonna eat me up like Marlins.
At some point in our lives, we all felt we were boring, right? And some of you may be feeling this right now. And because you feel like you're a boring person, you go out and you get social anxiety, whether it be through work events, whether it'll be through social interactions in social events. You feel like you're not an interesting person. And then this leads to low self-esteem, which means you can't connect with people, and it just goes into a downward spiral, right? But understand this, that you can change that feeling. You can become an interesting person, and it's a skill that you can learn. A lot of the time when you feel like you're a boring person, it either stems from two reasons. The first one is you don't have enough stories to tell, which means you need to go out and do more cool shit, or do some hard stuff, find some struggle. And the second thing is you don't know how to storytell. And this is something I've suffered with myself for a long time, and something I'm learning at the moment, which is storytelling. So I'm going to start off with the first point, which is you need to build stories if you want to become an interesting person. Everybody loves a good story, and the people that I found out who have the best stories, in my opinion, are the ones that go out a lot. They go explore the world. They do, a bunch of cool shit. They're outdoors most of the time. They're not stuck in indoors, right? And a lot of the time, the people that have the least stories are always stuck indoors, whether it be playing video games all day, working all day, or, just not leaving the house. And soon enough with them, you start to run out of things to talk about, and it can be a drag. I've met people who are dealers of some kind, and they spend most of the time outside, have a bunch of cool stories. I know quite a few bouncers, and they have a bunch of cool stories, because they're always out at nighttime, and nothing good happens after 12 a.m., right? So they have many good stories. And because of this, they become such an interesting person to talk to, because, they always have something to talk about. And when you have endless stories which you can talk about, you start to connect with people and you find a common ground within the stories, And finding that common ground then leads to a strong relationship between you and the other person. Now, in terms of business, having stories is so important, especially when it comes to your brand. Having a story behind your brand allows you to connect with your audience in a much more emotional way, right? This is why you as the person need to have stories, because not only does it affect you, it affects your brand. And usually when you create your own business, your identity is linked to the business, right? So your story is the business's story. So that's why you need to go out there, find some struggle, do some cool shit, which then you can talk about with other people and they can relate to you. You see this in the likes of Steve Jobs. You see this in the likes of Arnold Schwarzenegger and many more who have an autobiography. If you read through their books, their identity is kind of linked to their brand, right? And they all have had some sort of struggle, which, creates a good story, creates a compelling story, and it captivates an audience. So if you're there watching this and you feel like you're not an interesting person to talk to, then you need to go out and do some cool shit, right? So what I mean by this, there are many ways you can do this. The first one, you could go out and travel alone, go to new cities, go to a couple of dangerous areas, if you're ballsy enough, learn to ride a motorcycle, have a near-death experience. That's what I did. And to this day, it makes a compelling story, right? You can have a fight, whether it be a street fight, which I don't recommend. Rather you have a fight in the ring, which is more safe. Or you can jump off a plane, right? Or you can do a marathon. Something that has some sort of struggle, or something that has some sort of death element in it. The best stories are the ones which are dangerous, and the best stories are the one which no one else or not many people have done. The best stories are the one that has an element of death in it, which, everyone loves a bit of near-death experiences. Stories add character to who you are as a person. You learn successes, you learn failures, you learn struggles, and these are the things that will shape who you are as a person, and you will learn a lot about yourself. So if you're going to a party and you feel like you have social anxiety and people come up to you, you feel like you don't have anything to say, it most likely stems from the lack of experiences you've had in your life, right? So it's your job to go out there and build those experiences. Remember, everything in life is something that you can learn and you can kind of teach yourself. Everything else in life is a skill. Who you are as a person now is not the same person you'll be in 5 to 10 years if you take these steps, you take changes, become a better person. You can become a very boring person and turn into a very interesting individual. And once you have that experience and that transition, that itself can become a story, which leads into my second point, is the art of storytelling. So once you have the experiences, you need to learn and convey these stories to other people. You need to capture and hold their attention. And this is a skill in itself, storytelling, something that I'm learning to this day and I'm learning right now. Now, I'm not going to go too deep into the art of storytelling because I do want to talk about this in the future in another video in much more depth. But essentially, once you learn how to storytell, you then learn how to persuade, right? And when you persuade, you learn how to become more convincing, and being more convincing makes you a much more interesting person because now you can influence other people. Remember, everyone loves a good story and everyone will listen to a good story. But you need to become an interesting person and have cool stories to talk about, number one. And number two, learn the art of storytelling, which then can capture their attention and hold their attention. So if you feel like you're a boring person, go build stories, do cool shit, find some struggle, overcome those struggles, and then you turn that into a story. And that's all it is. So I'm going to leave it here. I'm going to go for a run and I'll see you next video. Peace.